Speaker of Parliament for the second time warns the police against invasion of homes of members of Parliament, saying it is a violation of their privileges.
We want the security agencies to be mindful of the fact that the police should not invade the premises of a member or appear to be doing so in a manner that will raise unnecessary difficulties for us.
We'll tell you why and more. Top story is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans, your success, our passion. Gasem, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? A nationwide medical health insurance, your healthcare family. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Tonight, Speaker of Parliament Professor Michael Quay is cautioning the Ghana Police Service against invading homes of members of Parliament as part of their investigations. He is urging the police service to respect privileges of MPs and approach his office anytime there is the need to interrogate them so that he can give them the green light. Police personnel stormed the home of the Esutifi South MP Collins Dauda this morning. But the Speaker says though MPs are not above the law, a decision by the police to invade the residence of Collins Dauda without recourse to him should not be happening.
The privileges of this honorable house have been clearly set out in the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. It applies to all members upon whatever side and at all times and in all circumstances. Nevertheless, we are also mindful of the fact that we are not above the law. It therefore means that what essentially asked for is not to be taken by surprise or not to be treated in a manner that will not be consistent with the dignity that an honorable member of Parliament should be attended to. And that is the essence of our parliamentary privilege, and for it matter, our query in such circumstances, which of course we know have arisen from time to time. And our stance will continue to be the same with regard to emphasizing our privilege, which is universal and attendant to the work given to Parliament. We want to put on record that in future the leadership of the House, the Speaker of the House, should be informed of all such needs so that it can be done with the appropriate decency. When any invitation is required, we would like it to be routed properly, and the appropriate honorable member will attend to the appropriate invitation at the highest quarters, preferably the Commissioner of Police CID in charge of investigation, because monkeys are playing sizes. If you want an honorable member of Parliament, that will be my barest minimum. That person will come and report in good company of parliamentary leadership and to the Commissioner in charge of investigations at the Ghana Police. We want the security agencies to be mindful of the fact that the police should not invade the premises of a member or appear to be doing so in a manner that will raise unnecessary difficulties for us.
So that is a speaker speaking earlier today. Well, this is not the first time that the home of an MP has been invaded in such a manner by the police. The homes of John Jinapo and Dr. Dominic Ayene were stormed in similar fashion during the Ameri investigations. Speaker Professor Michael Quay mentioned that in this specific incident, officials from Parliament were to accompany Collins Dauda to the police headquarters to meet with the police CID boss.
In all this, we want to reiterate that members of Parliament are not claiming to be above the law, but that the privileges given to us by the Constitution that we all have agreed to be ruled by should at all material times be respected and protected. In this particular instance, I have directed, and I will call the Commissioner of Police CID the moment I leave this hall, that the moment this house rises, the relevant officials will accompany the relevant honorable member to the office of the COP CID, now called Director CID. That's not what we knew when we were practicing law. And then have whatever conversation is necessary in accordance with the parameters of the law.
Speaker Michael Kwe there. Well, my colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has been to Parliament. Will tell you what's happening in Parliament regarding this incident. We'll also go to the Bonahafo region. But right now, let's connect with the ACP David Eklu, who is the Director General of the Public Affairs for the Police Service. He joins us on the line. ACP, thank you very much for your time this evening here on Top Story. Let me ask you, sir, what kind of briefing you've received regarding this incident so far?
Thank you very much. And I've also listened to the concerns expressed by the Honorable Speaker of Parliament. But I can confirm that the Honorable Member of Parliament is currently before us at the CID headquarters and is being taken through the necessary investigation processes. The information we have is that there was a case of abatement of assault against him at Kenyasi. And we, as part of the investigations, we need to take his side of the story, and that is what we are doing now.
Abatement of assault against him, you say?
Yes, there was a complaint against him at Kenyasi police station.
Okay, made by who, sir?
There is a complainant called one Kenneth Donko. That is what we have on record.
Okay. So if the police could do this without necessarily invading his home the way it was done, why didn't you just go ahead to do that?
I cannot speak to what happened at his house. And it is good that the Honorable Speaker would want to take it up with the police management, because I don't have an official complaint saying that his house was invaded. What I know is that he was invited because he's in Accra. The Bonahafo Regional Police Command wanted to invite him to Sunyani. But the information was that he's in Accra. So he was invited because the CID has national jurisdiction over all criminal cases. That's why he was invited to here, and I can confirm that he's with us here and cooperating with investigations.
So they wanted to investigate him for this matter, but the process has always been that you informed the Speaker. Was that done before his home was invaded?
Let me repeat again. I do not know what happened in his house, and you are using the word invade. That is your side of the story. So I am glad that the Speaker said he's going to take this up with the police management. What I'm saying is that the information we have is that there's a complaint against him, and he's in Accra. So the CID invited him to come and assist in investigations, and that is the process we are going through now.
Did you inform the Speaker before you invited him?
He was called on phone.
Who was called on phone? The Speaker of Mr. Dauda?
Mr. Dauda.
He was called on phone, so the Speaker was not informed?
I cannot confirm that, but since the Speaker has expressed a concern, yes, but he was invited on phone and he came after parliamentary proceedings.
Okay, you say that using the word invade is my word, but just to clarify things, did armed policemen go to his homes both in Bonahafo region and in Accra?
I don't have that report.
But sir, you are the Director General of Public Affairs for the Police Service.
I'm telling you the reason why he's been invited, and I cannot comment on things that I don't have information on.
I just asked because there's a matter of process, which is what the Speaker is speaking about. But let's move on with this. But then again, we really appreciate your time here on Top Story. But moving forward, you say that you have him responding to your questions at the moment.
Yes, he's here. He has reported as requested. So he's cooperating with us, as is enjoined by every citizen of this country to cooperate with the security agencies in matters like this. Yes.
Okay. Do we know how long this will take? Will they require that he spends the nights there, for example?
I cannot tell what will happen the next moment. But what I'm saying is that he's before us and he's been taken through the necessary investigation processes. So
is he seeing the official, the rank, the boss himself, as the Speaker insisted?
Pardon me?
Is he with the boss, the CID boss, as the Speaker insisted?
I am saying that it's been taken through investigation process by officers of the CID at the police headquarters.
And the speaker also mentioned that he was supposed to be accompanied by some officials from Parliament. Did that happen?
I know he didn't come alone. He's here with his lawyer and some other people.
ACP, we say a very big thanks to you. We really appreciate your time here on Top Story. ACP David Eklu, there he's the Director General of the Police Public Affairs of the Police Service. Let's get on the line again. We speak with Minority Chief Whip Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, who joins us on the line. Mr. Mubarak, thank you so much for your time this evening. What's your own version of happenings so far?
Well, good evening to you and your listeners. I'm one of the MPs, I think, among the MPs, I'm the senior most here, who was asked by Mr. Speaker to accompany him here. So we are still at the police CID headquarters here.
Are the things that the Speaker expected to happening? For example, going along with other senior officials, like you said, you are there yourself, and meeting with the CID boss, as the Speaker insisted.
Yes, I mean, we are with the CID director. I think it's the 2IC who is taking him through, together with his solicitors. So we are here.
Do you envisage that this will go on a while longer? Do you think that you will leave the premises of the...
It will be difficult to tell how long. We've been here so far. We've been here for about 2 hours now, and we are still here.
Well, I just spoke to the police, and they're telling us that he was arrested he was invited in connection with a complaint made against him to the effect of abetment of some sort of assault. What do you know about this?
Well, I mean, that is very ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. I mean, when our police do not want to do their work professionally and they want to do it only looking at their side of the story, not having regards to the laws that they are supposed to protect, obviously it becomes a problem. And this is very sad because sometimes, I mean, so those of us who've been around for some time, each time one group is in government, then the police seem to, with the greater respect to the police institution, I mean, lose their sense of judgment. All they do is that they just follow those who are ruling. That is wrong, because I'm happy that Mr. Speaker himself said it in the chamber. There are laid down rules how these things can be done, and it can always be done decently. I mean, you remember we were here when they raided John Dinapo's home, Honorable Dinapo, Dominic Ayini, Governor Donko, and the others. And we all kept complaining. Nobody is above the law. Nobody will run away from a legitimate consent from police or any other citizen. We are law-abiding citizens, but you need to follow the rules. I mean, for whatever reason, Honorable Collins Dauda is a member of Parliament, a former Minister of State. What will cause the police to go to his house at dawn with armed policemen? I mean, at the middle of the night. What on this earth, if not to intimidate him, and both Accra and in his constituency? Well, we should be careful the way we are doing things, because you see, it doesn't augur well for our democracy. It doesn't augur well for us. If you claim somebody has made complaint yesterday, he was at the regional police command in Bunafu, in Sunyani, to even make complaint about some other issues concerning his constituency. You didn't take the ably built armed men to those that he has complained about. But someone has made complaint, and you think that in his case, even as a member of Parliament, someone that I will tell you that Colin Zoda is never been a coward. Believe me, even if the devil says somewhere and call Colin Zoda, he will go.
Yeah, the issue.
So why would they not just follow the laid down rules? We are not
the issue about.
I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that if the IGP, for any reason, there's a need for somebody has come to make complaint about him. I don't think if he's complained to the army or maybe the same police, they will go to the IGP's home with armed AK-47 and well-built.
And that's an issue I want to engage you briefly on, because I just spoke to the police, and he it's not like he provides any contrary information, but he says that he cannot confirm that his home, for example, was invaded as as he claims. That's my word.
To you.
You're okay. What do you know about that particular incident? Armed police went there. What happened?
Yeah, they went there. I mean, in the case of Miami, that's his constituency. There were eight policemen. Some of them even wearing masks. What for? What the masks for? What? You are coming in the dark. You are also wearing a mask.
What did they do? And what did they do?
When they went there, obviously he has set off to come to Accra because Parliament were recalled yesterday. So I had to even be sending a message to all our members that look, we have a lot of business. Everybody try as much as possible. Unless you have a very good reason, please, everybody should do well to be in Accra. I sent those messages yesterday to all of them. So he set off very early so that he could get to Parliament to meet today's business. So according to him, he has left home, some few hours. Then the family called him that, these people say, describe what you are saying. Then they describe those who came. So he called me around, I think, some few minutes to 5 a.m. Then I said that he should call the regional police commander and find out why. And he did call the police commander. And the police commander said, well, these were instructions from his bosses. So since he says he's on his way to Accra, when he gets to Accra, he should try and go and see the IGP.
Okay.
And that's how it happened. So he came to Parliament. And obviously we have to go through the motions because we insisted that, look, we cannot just allow people to treat us as common criminals because we are not above the law, but the same law that has given them the power to be able to invite, to arrest, has given them guidelines as to how to deal with people like Honorable Colin Zelda. And that is why today Mr. Speaker made those comments and he promised that we'll go there, and we are here.
Okay, so being there, who are there besides you and Mr. Colin Zelda?
He has his solicitors, so they are just taking his statement together with his solicitors.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mutaka, we'll come back to you as and when you have any further development on this. Thank you so much for your time here on Top Story. So speaking of what happened in Parliament today, correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is here with me in the studio. Joseph, tell us, what was the talk in Parliament today?
In fact, with the details on what exactly happened, the Speaker recounted what he says are the details that have come to him on what happened as far as the said invasion is concerned. And the Speaker actually used the word invasion of his home in recounting what he said happened. The Speaker indicated that they went to his home here in Accra and in his constituency, and it's based on that he gave the caution again that they should avoid the situation of the police going ahead to do any such thing without first informing Parliament. On the minority side in particular, earlier we got the hint that there was the plan for even a press conference because the minority team weren't exactly happy with what had happened until the Speaker decided to intervene. And the Speaker again confirmed actually was responsible for how come Parliament delayed its sitting today, because the Speaker indicated that he went into a meeting with leaders in Parliament, as they briefed him on this particular situation, an indication of how seriously they are taking this particular issue that happened.
And speaking of how seriously they're taking this, we've built the background that this is not the first time this is happening, by the way. But the Speaker's response has been very pronounced. What was the response from the minority MPs who have over the time raised this issue?
They're happy that he's taking up the issue now and trying to get it dealt with as much as possible, except that they think that the police should also fall in line and obey the directive as he's giving them.
Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Well, we wrap up with very latest information coming through. We understand that there's been some changes in the police service. Elton Broby, our presidential affairs correspondent, is here to take us through that list. Elton.
So, what we have is that the current Director General of the Administration, Commissioner of Police, COP Opon Banua, has now been appointed as the new Deputy IGP. Now, the Deputy IGP position, which is part of the service regulation under CI 76, has been vacant for many years now. The last Deputy IGP, Elizabeth Mills Robertson, was promoted as acting IGP during the Mills administration. And when she was subsequently made an ambassador and the new IGP Paul Tewiakwe was appointed, the position of Deputy IGP continued to remain vacant until now. Now, there's also been other appointments, and and that included Director General, who has been reshuffled as COP, Mr. Prosper Agbulo, who is moving to legal and prosecution as Director General, and then very known name in the police administration, Nathan Kofi Boakye, is moving from PIPS to research and planning, while COP George Akufu Dampare is now moving to welfare. So these are the
So who's replacing who we all call who is replacing him at PIPS, by the way?
For now, we don't know yet. Before coming into the studio, I spoke to the police PRO. What they are doing is that a comprehensive statement is coming, but they've confirmed that this is what has been done so far by the Inspector General of Police. We can run through the list again. We have a new IGP in the person of Opon Banua, deputy IGP.
A new deputy
IGP, the person of Opon Banua. We have Prosper Agbulo, who is moving from legal, to legal and prosecution as Director General. Nathan Kofi Boakye is moving from PIPS to research and planning, while COP Dr. George Akufu Dampare is moving to welfare. So these are the new appointments. We are told to wait for a comprehensive statement from the police administration very soon.
All right. So we'll wait for that comprehensive statement. And when we have that, you know that we'll share it with you right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Top story is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, is also brought to you by GASEM, the nation builder, and Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready? As well as Nationwide Medical Health Insurance, your healthcare family. My name is Gifty Ando Apia, and MFA Apa will be coming your way with NewsNite.
Bond for Yankophobia Mudinokre.
I came to Bond because I wanted to expand my business.
Bond's intervention in our company has provided us with capital to grow our stock and also to expand our machinery.
Without Bond, I should have folded by now.
The way the girls relate to you, the way they talk to you, wow, I really love it.
Just a phone call and I'll be sorted out. That assurance is incredible.
Bond is the answer to the SMEs in Ghana.
Bond is 10
years. Come on, let's celebrate your success, our passion.
Bond, your success, our passion.
Don't come here, don't come in. Hey, 10 pesos, 10 pesos. Vodafone is 10 years old and is giving you an anniversary gift of 10 times bonus and 10 pesos call rate across networks. Browse for 10 pesos per megabyte. Call Vodafone or any other network at the same rate of 10 pesos per minute. That's not all, oh. Share your scratch card with 2 more people the Kikimi style, and the 3 of you will each enjoy 10 times the value of your card. Dial *135# to subscribe. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Hey, Yimshi. I noticed that all the national stadia in Ghana have lasted for decades.
Oh, yes. But do you also know that the concrete bridges are also decades old?
Yes.
Only one company in Ghana can give you that guarantee, and that is GASEM.
Cement that guarantees smooth finishing of plastering.
That is the GASEM Super Rapid 32.5R. If you want to have strong blocks for any form of construction, use GASEM Super Strong 42.5R. For your time-tested bridges like the Adome, multi-story buildings, highways like the motorway, then it is GASEM Extra 42.5N.
And the good news is, all these cement products are made right here in Ghana.
GASEM, 3 cement grades, unique quality. GASEM, the nation builder.
Nationwide Medical Insurance, the leader in private health insurance, has deployed superior technology to make your healthcare experience more convenient and exciting. With the Nationwide mobile app, you can order your prescription drugs and we will deliver to your doorsteps. With over 600 dependable healthcare service providers, you're just a step away locating your service provider of choice and accessing hospital claim information in real time. Our corporate clients are guaranteed timely corporate utilization reports. We provide on-site clinics to give give employees access to healthcare in the comfort of their offices. Enjoy these amazing benefits and so much more by signing on to Nationwide Medical Insurance today. Call us on toll-free number 0800-222222 or visit our website www.nationwidemh.com. Nationwide Medical Insurance. Join the healthcare family.
From digital address GA011334, you're welcome to NewsNite here on Joy 99.7 FM. In this edition, after earlier threats of imposition of visa restrictions, Ghana agrees to aid the US to deport about 7,000 Ghanaians.
All that we were talking about basically is for a certain fairness to be applied, and the embassy not necessarily pressured to agree to seeing some people deported. They threaten. A certain kind of understanding always works.
And to be able to participate in the yet to be rolled out diaspora voter registration exercise, Ghanaians in the US have to register their stay with the Ghana embassy.
If we don't know where they are, we wouldn't even know where to advise people to go and vote.
Fresh pressure files on government to scrap petroleum taxes as farmer-based groups, General Agricultural Workers Union and Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, warn of rising commodity prices.
It's more on we the farmers, because the transport owner is not going to bear that cost. He or she sets the price on the goods that he's going to carry.
The statistics that food production has gone up, then we should not be experiencing the high prices that we are seeing now.
We have details. We'll hear from Government and Markets Research Group, Isoko, predicting price increases of some foodstuffs if depreciating cedi is not stabilized. Network operators Airtel Tigo allays fears of customers who've been experiencing network challenges, blaming the situation on technical challenges during a system upgrade.
Because without internet, I cannot make sense. It's so bad. We should take them to court. You can't do this in any civilized country. You can never, without any information, without any notice, you just push people offline. Oh no, this is so bad.
For a worried customer, we'll get to hear from management who say they will compensate you. And police arrest 2 persons for allegedly raping and murdering a pregnant woman at Shama in the Western region.
There are 2 males aged between age 37 and 49. So they are currently in the police custody.
And in business,
Finance Minister Kenneth Friata gives details of planned $50 billion century bond, which will be outlined in the 2019 budget, with the possibility of raising about $10 billion in first tranche sale.
53 days to kick off of the 2018 African Women's Championship, and the LOC assures preparations are currently at 80%. Details when I join you much later with sports.
And Joy News visits the UK offices of the gold dealership Men's Gold. Will tell you the full story of its operations in that country.
Access to offices in the building is highly restricted as one needs to go through security entrance lanes.
All that and more here on NewsNight with me, Emefa Apau. You may want to join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp 0244 340 437. And in our very first story for tonight, he was at the center of a recent heightening of diplomatic tensions, I beg your pardon, between Ghana and the US over the deportation of some 7,000 Ghanaians. In fact, the US threatened to impose visa restrictions on Ghana if we fail to facilitate the deportation. Ghana's ambassador to the US, Dr. Bafwe J. Bewa, had refused to endorse the deportation forms despite the insistence of US authorities. Well, Joy News can report that the Ghana and the US have now reached a diplomatic understanding on the matter. Mr. J. Bewa provided the following details when he addressed journalists on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York.
If the person came in on an accepted documentation at the port of entry, there ought to be the documentation that allowed the person to be brought in. So whatever basic information that is necessary, the American system should have it. So if they do have it, then they don't have to come to us to ask whether the person is Ghanaian. So I think all that we were talking about basically is for a certain fairness to be applied, and the embassy not necessarily pressured to agree to seeing some people deported. And I think this is where we had a certain difference of opinion, and that's all.
Has the Americans agreed to now deport them without your endorsement?
No, I don't think it's a matter of agreeing to deport people without our endorsement. But at least we have had enough, discussion for a certain kind of sanity to prevail. I can tell you that whilst I was in Ghana recently, I had a very productive meeting with officials at the American Embassy, and it included, issues like this. It's a matter of understanding, that's all.
So what is the understanding now? Do you know?
Well, the understanding is that, as I, for instance, keep telling the Ghanaian community, you are in somebody's home. The worst you can do is to obey the law.
Would these be deported now?
I can, at least confirm that, we do have a certain kind of understanding on the process. So we don't have any tensions with America anymore about this.
Because we were threatened that they're going to put visa restrictions on us.
Yeah, they did threaten. But I think, as I said, a certain kind of understanding always works.
So you heard there Ghana's ambassador to the United States, Dr. Bewa. And as you expect, the minority in parliament is unhappy with the new development, which could in the coming days see some Ghanaians in the U.S. deported for various immigration offences. Dr. Clement Park is a member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, and he joins us on the line with some analysis on this. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Park. You heard Mr. Bewa in those comments to my colleague Evans Mensah. Do you think it's in sharp contrast to the comment he made earlier some months ago regarding the same deportation of these Ghanaians in the U.S.?
Well, let me say good evening to you and good evening to listeners, and to indicate that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I would have wished that my ranking member was available, but be as it may, I have been very active on this particular issue, and so if I speak, I know that clearly I will have his blessings on this matter. And I think you have asked a very profound question, because the earlier indications and the posturing of the American authorities vis-a-vis the reaction of our ambassador, Dr. Bewa, today is in stark contrast. But at least we can concede on one or two issues, and I can sympathize with him because it has not been the most pleasant experience as far as he is concerned. But if indeed what I had played, which is his own voice and the admissions that he has made in terms of the Americans now taking full responsibility of determining the persons that they deem to be Ghanaian, and I'm talking about the about 7,000 persons that they had indicated almost about a year ago that were Ghanaians and had gone against, or their presence in the U.S. was in violation of American law and had to be deported. If now there is evidence and documentation by the Americans to confirm that these persons are indeed Ghanaian citizens and they are going to deport them, and this is in consonance with the thinking of our embassy in the U.S., so be it. But we still have a number of questions to raise. First of all, one of the fundamental questions that we raised earlier on was, what were the infractions that these persons deemed to be Ghanaians had committed against the host nations, America, for which they were going to be deported. And if that is the case, what is going to happen to their family members, for example, and if they had worked in the U.S., acquired property?
But Dr. Apad, if I may just help with some of the concerns you're raising, at least from what we gather, majority of them are documentation-related, violations. That's what we know for now.
Yes, but even as a matter of fact, and as required by the UN, every human being, regardless of whatever your infractions may be or whatever crime you may have committed, must be treated with dignity and your rights must be respected. So whether or not the issues have to do with proper documentation or not, does not give the Americans the panacea to simply just deport them without taking due cognizance of all other factors in as far as their presence there is concerned.
But Dr. Apad, then it raises the concerns that, so if we're saying that violation of rights issues are being raised and people don't have the right documentation, they are living in these countries illegally, what choice then do you leave these authorities?
Well, I mean, we live in a global society and there is a mother global organization known as the UN, which has certain protocols and standards. And so, for example, if somebody deemed to be a Ghanaian had found his way to the U.S., perhaps not properly documented or didn't follow the right processes, went on there to marry an American, had an issue, who is now half American and half Ghanaian, had property, and you are deporting that person because they didn't follow proper procedure, what happens to the son or the offspring and the rest of the family? And these are matters of rights that must be advocated, regardless of what the state of America may have to say. And this is the point that we are making. But even the other issue that we had raised, which I think continues to be relevant, is that when they come home to Ghana, what are the contingency arrangements and plans that we have to ensure that they are properly integrated in a way that will not make them a burden to Ghanaian society? And I think that, if for nothing at all, the government led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who himself used to be a minister for foreign affairs, should have done was to convey to us as parliament and indeed the Committee on Foreign Affairs about this new arrangement. We as a committee who took this matter on when the first batch of Ghanaians were deported should not be hearing about this in the public domain.
Okay.
The least they could have done would have been to let the committee know that there has been a consensus or arrangement reached between the government of Ghana and the government of America, and these were going to be the conditionalities. So for us to even hear this on the airwaves means that the government of the day has not accorded the due respect to the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Foreign Affairs. And I think that is very unfortunate for somebody who used to be a minister for foreign affairs and understands the role of the Committee of Parliament in charge of foreign affairs.
And would the Foreign Affairs Minister be invited, for instance, to answer, to give you further explanations to these latest directive or latest development that we're hearing about?
Well, we are just hearing this for the first time, and indeed I will make this information available to my ranking member, and I will see what else we can do. But make no mistake, as the saying goes in Ghanaian political parlance, the minority would always have its say, and the majority would have its way. But I think in respect of this issue, certainly, I think it would have been proper and right for the committee in charge of foreign affairs to have been briefed ahead of this information becoming public.
We're grateful for your time. Dr. Clement Park is a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Let's stay a while longer in the United States and in the stables of the Ghanaian ambassador there, because we're told that in some few months or so, Ghanaians there who want to benefit fully from the soon-to-be rolled out diaspora voter registration exercise should be able to register with the Ghanaian embassy there. You'll recall that President Akufo-Addo last year committed to fully fund the Electoral Commission to implement the controversial Representation of the People's Amendment Law, ROPAL. We can hear from Dr. Eje Bewa on plans so far.
I would want Ghanaians to understand that the embassy basically is either their first or their last line of defense. So they need to get the embassy to know where they are. Because, for instance, recently there was this fire in the Bronx. 5 Ghanaians died. We got to know about it because somebody complained to the president's office. And in that complaint, which we got a copy of, there was a phone number. It was that phone number that I used to track, one of the parents of, the deceased. And I managed to use that to appeal to the city of New York to support them. And the city was very beautiful about it, very helpful. But for that, we wouldn't have known. And I'm quite sure with some of the disasters that are going on in the States, and the Ghanaians are all over, some Ghanaians might probably perish or have difficulties. We don't have any information on them. So even if we could provide some assistance, we wouldn't know where, who, and what to take. So it is essential for us to know where they are. And besides, the president is saying that in the next election, ROPA will be operated. So those overseas who qualify to vote could, we have to, as it were, facilitate their voting. If we don't know where they are, we wouldn't even know where to advise people to go and vote. And the vote probably is the one weapon each of us has to make sure that the country is run well. So they should make the effort to vote.
So that's Dr. Bewa there, Ghana's ambassador to the USA. But you may be aware that the Supreme Court has given the Electoral Commission a year's notice to develop a roadmap towards the full implementation of ROPAL following a legal challenge of the matter in court. Private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Ayenene represented the plaintiff in court, and we are privileged to have him join us on the line. Thank you very much for your time, Samson. So you've heard Dr. Bewa. Is that what was required by the law? Is that the way to go? Are we on the right path regarding what we are supposed to do when it comes to ROPAL?
Good evening, MFA. I think that the Electoral Commission should be answering the questions now. It is the decision of the Human Rights Court, as in the High Court, presided over by Justice Anthony Yeboah, who is now Justice of the Court of Appeal. It was a decision of the court that the rights of Ghanaians who live outside of the country had been violated for over a decade, because in 2006, particularly on the 24th of February 2006, Ghana's parliament passed the law that gave the right to Ghanaians who live abroad to be registered abroad and to vote from abroad. And the court affirmed the right of my clients who went to court that ought to happen, and it ought to happen for the 2020 elections. The Electoral Commission commissioners and the commission itself, the judge was very deliberate in how he couched the judgment. We're giving 12 calendar months to ensure that the instrument that is supposed to go to Parliament for the operationalization of this process was placed before Parliament, and that same was, brought into being for there's supposed to be a constitutional instrument, and that it should be in Parliament for the modalities for the implementation of the law, which is Act 699, to be done so that 2020, those persons who were so disadvantaged could have the opportunity to vote. Now, if they did not do so, the court was very clear that they ought to come back to the court and give cogent explanations why they are unable, and then the court will determine what next to do. Otherwise, as you know, they will be in contempt of the court, and they will be punished accordingly. So the question to be asking now is whether or not the Electoral Commission has taken the steps upon the orders, clear orders of the court, and placed before Parliament, and seeing to it that Parliament is seized with a constitutional instrument for the modalities for the implementation of the Act 699.
The EC is yet to speak to us on that, though. But 12 calendar months is yet to be elapsed or so. But looking at the pace, are you hopeful these disadvantaged persons, so to speak, will be able to vote in 2020?
The court's orders remain the law, so to speak, at this point. The judgment of the court has not been challenged. And the 12 calendar month kicks in from the 1st of January 2018. So we will continue to wait and hope that the EC officers will not get themselves in a situation where they will be punished.
We're grateful for your time, Samson. There, thank you very much. You're still listening to NewsNite here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now let's head to Shama in the Western region, because we are told that 2 persons are currently in the custody of the Shama District Police over the suspected rape and murder of a pregnant woman there. The deceased was reportedly heavy with twins. According to the Assembly member for Shama Bensir, Emmanuel Makakun, the body of the 28-year-old woman, only identified as Nyamiye, was found in the bush around 5 a.m. on Sunday.
I think around 5 a.m. yesterday, some friends came to me and reported that they have seen somebody lying in the bush, but they couldn't ascertain whether the person is dead or not. So I organized some men to go there. When we went there at the scene, we saw that there is this pregnant woman who is killed. Her name is Nyami. She's at age 28, and the scan in her folder, she's carrying twins, and I think the doctors have even booked her for today at the hospital. So we quickly called in the police officers to come. After carefully examining the body, we realized that the assailants even had sex with her. They removed her panties, and you can see semen around the private part and all that. Now, from the look of things, they hit the head with maybe stick or any other offensive weapon. So there was a sharp cut in the deep cut in the head. And actually, the husband is in the sea. The husband went to sea, and the nature of the affection is like that they take 3 days. So he's expected to arrive today 4 p.m. But the lady herself comes from a palm. She comes from a palm. So she informed the parents, the relative, that she's coming to see the husband. And that is how come we had the investigations is ongoing, and one boy by name.
You heard the Assembly member for Shama Bensir, Emmanuel Makakun. Let's go on the phone lines and speak to the Shama District Police Commander, Deputy Superintendent Atayeboa. Thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. So when exactly did this incident occur, and what is your initial investigation revealing?
Yeah. Good evening, Madam Emefa, to you and your cherished listeners. To start with, on 23rd of September in the morning, the police received information to the effect that a pregnant woman had been gruesomely murdered and lying in a pool of blood on the main Shama Abuazi road. Police, on receipt of this sad news, dashed to the scene, and lo and behold, the body of the pregnant woman, who was identified as Ekua Nyami, age about 32, was found. After the police preliminary investigation that is consisting of the processing of the crime scene and the interviewing of the potential witnesses in this matter, the body was removed and deposited at a Fianquanta government hospital pending postmortem. For now, investigations led to the arrest of 2 suspects who were reportedly seen with the disease, who was returning from the funeral at Abuazi to Shama. Arrangement, they have been cautioned on a preliminary charge of murder, and arrangements are far advanced to arraign them before court in due course.
Well, I know this is privileged information, though, but what have they been saying? Is it related to ritual killing? What exactly led to this?
As a matter of fact, police cannot, for now, tell that the murder was as a result of ritual connotation. But we are focusing on who were the assailant and what charges should be preferred against them.
But these 2 suspects, were they alone? Who are they? Are they from the town? What do we know?
The information we have now is that one of them is a native of Shama, and the other one also comes from Prestia.
Are there any other persons involved that the police is still looking for?
For now, we are pleading with the public to give us information. But for now, these are the only 2 people that we have in our custody, and they are being interrogated.
But have we heard from the family yet? What have they also been telling the police to help with investigations?
Well, the family members are helping immensely in this regard. They have been going around looking for information because they live with the people. So any information that they happen to come across, they inform us, and we also act. So they are helping. They are helping.
But just to be sure, what happened to the twins? Did they also die?
Obviously, once the mother is dead, the case automatically will also die. But for now, because it's a police case, a postmortem has to be conducted before the baby's in can be removed, of which arrangements are far advanced for it to be done as soon as practicable.
Superintendent, we are grateful for your time. That's a Deputy Superintendent Atta Yeboah. He's the Shama District Police Commander, speaking to us there on that situation in Shama. But away from that, CEO of Airtel Tigo, Mtiwa Ngambi, has been allaying fears of customers who, since the early hours of yesterday, have been facing network challenges. As she says, it is caused by what she describes as technical problems arising from their systems upgrade. Scores of persons gathered at the office of Airtel Tigo branches in Accra to register their frustrations with the network, as most of them say the situation has left them stranded. Nancy Emefadradosi visited some branches and joins us in the studio with details. So which particular branches did you visit,
So I first went to the one on the Ring Road close to the Nima Junction, and also the one at the head office. Now when I go to the Ring Road, the main auditorium was crowded to the extent that people were actually standing outside waiting for their turn. In fact, people were holding numbers as a number 450 as we got there. So that's how long the queues were at the Ring Road branch of Airtel Tigo. But as for the main office, even though there were queues, they were managing it well.
So what were these customers telling you?
So most of them were saying that their networks went off in the early hours of yesterday. Some said in the morning, others were complaining that it was in the evening. They just realized that their networks went off. So most of them suspected that it was from their phones. So they tried to fix it, but nothing was happening. Since yesterday, some are saying that their job uses internet and all of that, and so it's really affecting them.
But just yesterday, early in the morning, I was doing something on my iPhone, and all of a sudden the the network just went off. So I thought maybe it's my chip. So I tried offing the phone, then I on it again just to see whether it will come. I did it several times. I took the chip out. Then I came in early in the morning, around 7 there. When I came, I met a serious queue. All of them seems to have the same issue. So we came just to seek information from the manager or the PRO. Nobody was coming out to talk to us.
Yesterday, around 8:20, I realized that the network was off. So initially, I thought it was one of their problems. Sometimes it goes off and then comes. But then for the whole day, from that time, I couldn't get the network. At least they should even send us a message. But there was nothing like that.
But I came, nobody's talking to us. The manager, everybody's, you can't find anybody. They just give me a ticket.
So some of these customers were saying that they were hoping to hear from authorities. You finally did when you went to the head office. What did they tell you?
All right, so we finally met herself, and she was telling me or telling the media that it was just their system upgrade because of the merging. They wanted to have better data, better voice services for their clients, and so it was part of measures. But then they realized that there were some technical hitches. They didn't see that coming, and so when it happened, it hit them as a big blow, and so they are working to restore the situation.
You recall that we had announced the merger of Airtel and Tigo to become now the second largest mobile operator in Ghana. Now, these two companies separately had existing network assets. Since then, we have been hard at work integrating these two network assets to provide a much wider coverage, higher capacity across all our entire regions. Now, during this process, we don't expect any disturbance to be experienced by consumers. However, we are dealing with machines, we are dealing with technology, and this is where we're saying if there's any glitch in a consumer's experience, we're happy to invite them into the stores so that we can deal with them firsthand. The only thing that has happened now since the month of October last year is, and exactly what I'm saying, the consolidation of all our network assets. At this point, it will be very difficult to tell. We're dealing with walk-ins in store. Minimal, I would say, for now, but in terms of global numbers, it's very difficult to tell now as we're still experiencing customers walking through the store. And again, I would like to re-emphasize, if at all, and during this process, and the process is not ending tomorrow, it's not ending on Friday.
But we're told about some compensations.
Yes, so if you are affected, first of all, they'll give you a new SIM when you go to the office. They give you a new SIM, but it has all your details intact.
It does?
Exactly. It has your system, everything is in place, your numbers, everything is there. But then they're going to give you 20 Ghana cedis for call.
20 cedis.
Just 20 cedis for call. They're going to give you about 1 gigabyte of data and other bonuses.
Okay. The customers should have a SIM upgrade. But in the SIM upgrade process, a customer will not lose the number, will not lose the airtime, will not lose any Airtel to go money. So it's just like, okay, you come into the shop, I'm saying I have an emergency or no service on my SIM card. Just give me the SIM card, I give you a new one without losing any form of activity on your main balance, on your data allocation. And on top of that, actually, we give customers 20 Ghana cedis and 1 GB to actually try the network. Because we've already promised the customers that we are giving them superior voice quality, fast internet and wider coverage. So when the customer goes through that inconvenience of coming to the shop, after a successful upgrade, we actually give customers this 20 Ghana cedis and 1 GB as not just compensation, but to try the new experience of Airtel Tigo.
So you had the Pius Tufor's Director of Market Growth for Airtel Tigo, but Parliament has waded into this. MP for Ningo Prampram and a member of the Communications Committee, Sam George, says his committee will force the regulator NCA to sanction the network if any wrongdoing is established.
We will not just be summoning them, but we'll be summoning the regulator. Because you see, it is not the responsibility of the telcos to ensure that you have good service. It is the responsibility of the regulator. It is NCA's job to ensure that the telcos do the right. The telcos' interest is that you buy their airtime. They are a profit-making entity. And so for them, it's about making their profit. That is why we need to call the telcos, listen to the telcos, ask them what their challenges are, and ask the regulator, pay the LI that set you up, the executive instrument that set up the regulator, the NCA. Are there any punitive measures? Are there any remedial actions? We've seen that happen before in this country, but you need to first and foremost invite the telcos, hear them out, invite the regulator, and on the basis of that, push the ministry to take action.
You heard there Sam George is a member of the Communications Committee of Parliament. It's still NewsNight. When we return from business, Joy News will visit the UK offices of gold dealership Men's Gold and tell you the full story of its operations in that country.
Access to offices in the building is highly restricted as one needs to go through security entrance lanes.
And there's a latest preacher in town. We'll get to hear from him later on. And also we have Flip Side later on here on NewsNight. But George Wiafe is in the studios. George, we don't have good news. We're told Bill Cosby has been sentenced 3 to 10 years in prison.
It looks like finally he's lost the appeals, right?
Truth always stands. We'll
and
see how it goes.
The Me Too movement is making great inroads in the U.S. The current nominee to Supreme Court is having his own share.
Share of
the second lady has come in to also accuse him of some assault as well. So let's see how far these cases will go. When we get another Me Too movement in Ghana here to take on. Okay.
What's in business?
So the finance minister has been speaking about the planned $50 billion century bond, and looks like it could happen sooner than we thought. MFA first tranche of it could be issued next year, targeting about $10 billion. And also the National Petroleum Authority has reached an agreement with the petroleum tanker drivers to bring an end to concerns over poor working conditions. The business news on NewsNight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials.
In this part of the world, we rise early, way before the sunrise. We plan, we pray, we prep, just so we are a step ahead. We keep the conversations going to stay connected to family, friends, and business. They say, Agrobeswa Ifrianopa, start your day bright with MTN Kokroko. For only 1 Ghana cedi, you can enjoy 400 megabytes of data and 30 minutes of free MTN to MTN calls every day from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. everywhere you go. Dial *138# to buy MTN Kokroko bundle now.
The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us again. From the 1st of August to the 30th of September, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stocks last. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302-764-209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on NewsNight. And Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been given details of the planned $50 billion century bond. The minister today finally confirmed that the planned projects that will be linked to the bond should be outlined in the 2019 budget. The Finance Minister tells Joy Business the bond would definitely come on next year.
So we hope to do this century bond, $50 billion. It's a shelf offering, will be multi-currency, and also make it a zero for the first 5 years, so that it gives you time for what you do to begin to generate results. It's going to be a very interesting structure. And
would it happen, because people think that it's a futuristic thing, would it happen next year?
Well, we came into government with people not thinking all that has happened. So we live on that edge and we will make it happen.
Your Joy Business is learning that the bond could be issued in tranches with the possibility of targeting almost $10 billion in its first tranche, that is next year. Well, economist Dr. Eric Osesibe wants the debate on the public debt to be focused on the amount of funds that the country is borrowing from investors outside Ghana. Now, this follows concern that the 159.4 billion cedis debt stock, which is about 66% of the value of the economy, could affect our ability to pay back these loans on time. But Dr. Eric Osesibe tells Joy Business the external debt composition should be the problem that we should look at.
is about the tenor debt component of our debt composition, of our debt stock. I think that one is growing, particularly the non-resident holders of our debt stock, and that leaves us a little bit vulnerable to external shock. Because what we experienced recently in regard to the currency depreciation, some of it has to do with holders of our domestic debt, offloading their debts to the market, and that could put some pressure on the currency. Otherwise, I think there's no cause for alarm.
That's Dr. Eric Osesi-Behe is an economist. Now, the Bank of Ghana says it has instituted the required structures and policies to support the country's plan of moving towards a cashless society. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, disclosed this when he addressed investors and the business community on the state of financial inclusion in Ghana at the Euro Money Conference in Accra. Meanwhile, the governor also announced that they are developing a digital agent registry that would identify and also help guide agents in the country. And the National Petroleum Authority has reached an agreement with petroleum tanker drivers to bring an end to their concerns over poor working conditions today. According to the official Twitter handle of the authority, that is at MPA Ghana, James Ahiadome signed on behalf of the tanker owners, while the chief executive of the National Petroleum Authority also signed on behalf of a government. The oil marketing company was also signed by its chief executive, who also signed on behalf of them. Now, this should bring an end to the concerns that these tanker drivers raised over the past days, which led to an industrial action on Monday. Now, government of Hungary has expressed its interest of exploring investment opportunities in actually the One District, One Factory program. The Hungary ambassador to Ghana, Andres Bo, disclosed this to Joy Business that government is actually discussing with the Trade Ministry over plans to establish 6 factories that are solely focused on agro-processing. It drops the hint at the Accra Regional Annual General Meeting, or the AGI, today.
It's more we would like to deal with private partners, actually. When are these projects going to start? Some started, some we only have the division. So I'm talking about 5 to 6 projects. Half of them we already started negotiations, and we are quite close to sign an agreement very soon.
And that's the Dutch ambassador to the Hungarian ambassador to Ghana. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust (NIT) says it will soon introduce a scheme to enable the informal sector to subscribe or pay their premiums via mobile money. Labor firms Principia was at a public sensitization exercise and customer service mobile clinic in the Ashanti region, and he has the rest of the story.
The SNIT Mobile Clinic is an annual exercise of getting onto the streets to transact business with clients. This year's exercise in Kumasi took place at Trede, Jabing, and Offenso, where residents took advantage of the clinic to register and check their statements, among other transactions. Dr. Oforit Tinkwai says SNIT is working on a parallel scheme with flexible contribution terms on mobile money platforms.
One of the things that we feel we need to do is actually to make it easier for the small scale, traders or people in, small scale enterprises, sole proprietors and stuff, to make it easier for them to give us their money.
Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Furtinkran. And that's all for business on NewsNite. Back to you, MFA.
Thank you very much, George. Now, fresh pressure is piling on government to scrap petroleum taxes. The General Agricultural Workers Union and Peasant Farmers Association are warning the situation could get worse if government fails to intervene. With fuel prices hiking at 5.12 cedis per litre, many market women are finding themselves at a disadvantage as drivers have increased transportation fares. Selinam Ampo visited some markets here, and here's a report read to you.
At the Malamata market, traders display their wares from fruit to vegetables, hoping to make good sales. There's worry, however, that many cannot afford to buy. Why? Food items have become awfully expensive as fuel prices have hiked.
The fuel increase has really affected my work. We pick the tomatoes from Kumasi and bring it here. The drivers have increased the fares, so when we also increase our prices, the customers cannot buy. We beg the government to reduce fuel prices for us. They have increased it because we used to buy these for 5 Ghana cedis. Now it is 10 cedis. When we get customers, they are unable to afford and then they leave. The increase in fuel is really disturbing us.
When fuel prices swell, it costs more to transport food from the farm to the plates. Prices of tomatoes, onions, pepper, yams and other farm produce are experiencing the ripple effects.
Cars that brings the onion. Now when they bring the onion, it's like formerly it's cheap, but for now it's cost. We are losing customers. Because when a customer comes in, it's like you tell the person that this is 10 cedis, while the person knows it's 5 cedis. That person might be thinking that, oh, maybe you wanted to maybe take his money or maybe cheat him.
The transport fares have increased. When we sell, we do not even make profit. We beg the government to reduce fuel prices because it is disturbing us. We used to buy a bag 480 cedis, but now it is 200 cedis. We are making a loss.
For the traders, the cost of fuel is greatly affecting the cost of many goods. Selinam Ampo's report for Joy News.
Now, market research group Isoko Ghana Commodity Index holds a contrary position, but content manager Francis Ejay is, however, predicting the situation could depreciate if government doesn't stabilize the falling cedi.
From our assessment, what we can say is that we have some commodities that are increasing in prices and others that are dropping. And with regards to the current increases in fuel, we've not seen any effect on the prices now. So that is what we can say for now.
But we've been speaking to some market women, specifically at Agbogboshi and Nima. They say that indeed transport fares have gone up when they're cutting their goods from the farm gates to the markets.
So some of them will say that, but you need to also realize that when you don't have organized groups, let's say those who do not belong to any association, they charge whatever fares that they want to charge. And so if you pick any of those ones or any of those that are not in grouping, then you are going to pay with this situation.
I'm asking that all these other factors, except the fuel price increases that you say, may have accounted for the increase in produce food prices on the market. How can we ensure that some of these prices are stabilized so that some people are not charging more than others, and and even markets even in the same space?
Yes, so what can be done is that we need to look at these other factors that are contributing to the rise in price. For example, if you take some of the imported commodities, you realize that for some of them, because we are having some issues with the cedi, it is affecting those prices.
We can also hear from the Programs Officer of the Peasant Farmers Association, Charles Nyaba. They say that foodstuff for the farm gates are relatively cheaper, but maintain that rising commodity prices as a result of the fuel price hike.
Yeah, you are right. Not with Pitman. I left Upper West yesterday through Upper East to Pitman. I'm now coming to Accra. Okay. And depending on the type of food you are talking about, there is so much yam in Tamale. Farmers are not even getting people to buy. You go to Tamale town, even though there's a variation in terms of prices between the communities and the town center.
We can also hear from the General Secretary of GAU, Edward Carrier, who says the situation has been compounded by the recent floods in parts of the country.
In the face of even statistics from the Minister of Agriculture that through the Planting for Food and Jobs program, agricultural production in respect of maize, rice, and all those crops that have been under the Planting for Food and Jobs have gone up. Prices still went up. So that was a serious contradiction.
Okay.
Because it doesn't normally happen that when we are in the peak season, that is when we are harvesting, prices of those produce will be high. They will be high in the lean season.
Right.
But in the current situation, even the time that we're harvesting, the price of maize had gone up, rice had gone up, and it was difficult to reconcile why it was so.
You have the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Carrier was speaking for them. But we've also heard earlier the General Secretary of the Ghana Federation of Labour, Abraham Kumsin, calling for a mass demonstration to compel government to lessen the suffering on the Ghanaian. But the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says the depreciating cedi against the dollar will not force government to take any politically unwise decision that may hurt the economy in the future.
We will strive as a government to keep the exchange rate stable. The shocks notwithstanding, the facts still remain that our record of management of the city has been a relatively good one. That said, we will continue to stick to fiscal discipline and market determination of exchange rates. We will not be forced by these external shocks into taking politically expedient but economically unsustainable decisions. We know we are on the right track and we are going to stay the course because we have to look after the long-term interest of Ghana, not the short-term political expediency.
You heard the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You're still listening to NewsNite here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's turn our attention now to the Star Times controversy and latest developments also in Parliament, because Communications Minister Eslo Owusu has been defending government's relationship with Chinese firm Star Times, insisting it will help create jobs for Ghanaians. Her comments comes as a Parliament's Communications Committee resolves to officially summon her for interrogation over issues involving Star Times and Kelny GVG. Eslo Owusu tells Joy News the deal with Star Times will not negatively impact the operations of local broadcasters.
6,000 households across the country would have the decoders, which they can watch for 6 months for free. 2 members of each of these communities would also be trained in the operations and maintenance and setup of this system, creating jobs for them in the process, over 1,000 jobs. I am excited about that because it is giving these 2 selected individuals in each of these communities an opportunity to also acquire the skills to set up and provide after-sales service, maintenance, simple repairs to these decoders and TV sets in the remotest communities in this country. We have an agenda for jobs. This project will provide our young people with skills which will enable them to work not just on the Star Times project, but to install and service any decoder that any of these companies that are currently in this country can provide for their subscribers. You know, so I don't see where the opposition to all this is coming from.
I think this would distort the markets.
How?
And create a situation where the Chinese firm would have the chance to dominate the markets more than the local firm.
How many communities are there in this country? Over 10,000 communities are in this country. DSTV has offered free decoders. Questa TV has offered free decoders. Multi TV, when they started, offered free decoders. Those did not distort the market. And yet Star Times, when it offers free decoders, will distort the market. Where is the logic in that? Now, she also insists that members of the Communications Committee have adequate information on the deal, dismissing concerns from the minority. The House has been left in the dark.
A whole presentation on this has been done to them during the process for approval of the tax waivers. They are aware. Now, if for some reason some member was not present during the presentation, that cannot be the fault of the ministry. The opportunity was provided for them to be brought up to speed and briefed on what was going on. Those who were there were briefed. Those who were not cannot falter.
Minister of Communications Eslo Owusu. But let's stay a while longer in Parliament. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo joins us in the studios for his day 2. It's just ended, day 2 of the emergency sitting of Parliament. And what happened in Parliament today?
So today the House approved the appointment committee's report on the 4 justices of the Supreme Court who were vetted last month, Justice Mafosao, Nana Megache, and 2 others. So now they could be sworn in and they can then officially take over. And then there was the long dragged issue having to do with the MP who was actually invited by the CID. Okay. But one other information coming out has to do with the appointments committee. They've set out date for the vetting of the 4 minister designates who are appointed by President Nana Akufo-Addo. So the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah will be appearing before them on the 26th of October. That's a long way away, though. Yes, okay. Next month, just in time for when the House will return for their main sitting. And on that same day, Cynthia Morrison would appear, the Minister Designate for Gender, Children and Social Protection, and also Paulina Abayage, who is the Minister Designate for the Upper East Region. And then the following day, the Minister Designate for Brong-Ahafo, Evans Bubio, will be vetted, as well as the Deputy Minister for Brong-Ahafo, Martin Otijako, and Sambo Aite, who is the Deputy Minister for Eastern Region.
Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo. It's time now for the latest from the world of sports. But just before we go, something else happened. You can tell us about it.
We're actually expecting that tomorrow the Privileged Committee's report on Kennedy Japan's alleged contemptuous comments would actually be dealt with tomorrow.
Are you picking any information on what's in there?
They've disclosed already that they are recommending sanctions against him. But as to whether the House would approve it or otherwise, we'll know that tomorrow.
Okay. Joseph there. Now it's time for the latest from the world of sports, and Baba Tando, black and yellow, is in the studios with the latest.
Really? Okay.
Yes, really.
Purple chick. Thank you. Now, in about 53 days, 7 qualified African countries will converge in Ghana for the 11th edition of the African Women's Championship. Ghana's preparations to host the 2-week tournament saw some turbulence amidst delays in refurbishing infrastructure at the 2 host venues, that's Accra and Cape Coast. There were even reports of threats from the Confederation of African Football, CAF, to strip Ghana of the hosting rights since preparations were behind schedule. However, chairperson for the local organizing committee for the tournament, Frida Prempe, however, assures that Ghana is about 80% ready for the 2018 Women's AFCON, save for a few last-minute touches.
Next is to unveil the mascot next week. We also will unveil the theme song. And next is also to showcase our website. Currently, the Black Queens are on the nationwide tour. They went to Kumasi, through Techimai to Sunyani. They'll be going through to the 3 northern regions, then come back to Cape Coast. Then they will leave Ghana to prepare well ahead of the tournament. So what is left is to put ourselves together for the opening and the closing ceremony, which of course we are working very hard behind the scenes. Everything is together now. They'll start rehearsing the next 2-3 days. And so far so good. We don't have any problem with hotel accommodation. We don't have any problem with catering, immigration and all that. So basically, I would say that we are between 75 to 80% out there on the job. So far so good.
Madam Frida Prempe is chairperson for the local organizing committee of the 2018 African Women's Championship. Now, there are some matches happening in England. That's the Carabao Cup or the EFL Cup. And Manchester City is away at Oxford and they're drawing goalless. We have Leicester City also away at Wolverhampton Wanderers, also goalless over there. Manchester United take on Derby County, 19 hours GMT. That's 7 o'clock. Any results?
No.
Are you sure? You don't want to give us a prediction?
No.
United to win?
I do that for money, I'm sure.
They will draw, I guess. These days they are good at drawing.
Oh, they would win.
Yes. All right, so MFR.
It looks like Pogba is in the news.
Yeah, Pogba is trending. Yeah, so you know, Didier Deschamps actually granted an interview yesterday after the FIFA World Best Player Awards. Now, Didier Deschamps said, okay, he's been managing Pogba for a while now. He's never had a problem with him. You know, there's a perception out there that Pogba is a difficult player to manage. Okay. And Didier Deschamps, who is the French national team coach, says that he doesn't have a problem.
What's the problem with him and Mourinho?
The thing is, there's a problem.
Okay.
But the problem doesn't want to accept that it is the problem.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll see how it goes. But talk of trends, there's something trending this week. Is Israel Aye, men's gold and all. I'm sure you're wondering, of course, it's number one, but just in the few minutes, we've seen that Pogba has just overtaken Israel Aye on the Twitter trends as number one. Why? If you're just, wondering what this whole situation is about, a gold trading company, Men's Gold, has been in the showdown with the Securities and Exchanges Commission over its operations here in Ghana. Now, this is coming amid concerns that the company is operating beyond its mandate. But while that conversation goes on, Joy News checks at the UK offices of the gold dealer shows it does not operate the same business model, which has gotten it into trouble with SEC. The London office, Joy News discovered, is a rented space in the massive Berkeley Square house block, which houses about 1,000 or more businesses, mostly seeking short-term leases. Joy News editor Israel Aye reports.
Berkeley Square House, as the name indicates, is adjacent Berkeley Square, a famous landmark in the heart of London and not too far from the city's famous shopping district, Oxford Street.
In July 2018, that was earlier this year, we had the chief executive of Men's Gold, Nana Pia Mensah, take a shot at this very spot with his staff behind him. And it was the opening of the Men's Gold offices here in London. It's here at Berkeley Square. Now, the fact that this office was opened here, for many, suggested that they are into some really good business and that they're doing something really legit, which is welcome here in London. So I'm going to go into the offices to try and find out whether I can get to probably buy some gold here in their offices. So come along and take note of Berkeley Square House.
Access to offices in the building is highly restricted as one needs to go through security entrance lanes. Faced with that challenge of not making it past the lobby, I posed as a businessman seeking to take up office space.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Are you looking for the office space within Regis Company? Or just any?
Just any.
Yeah,
just
of course.
In the company of a Ghanaian resident in the UK who was at the opening of the Men's Gold London office, I was shown round the office suites with rents starting from £3,000 a month. We eventually ended up at the mini lobby area on the first floor where the office of Men's Gold is located. Right there on the wall were nameplates for some of the companies which are taking up offices on the floor. There was, however, no Men's Gold, even though the office steward taking us round explained it was optional.
So this report was first broadcast on Joy News Channel or Multi TV last night and has been trending on Twitter, like I told you, for most part of last night and today. Earlier, Men's Gold CEO Nana Pia Mensah tweeted that business is not a thing for the Pope. Think about it. And there was a storm on social media. A number of tweets. Bridget Totu has been tweeting. It says Nam1 is on Instagram insulting the Israelite. Interesting thing is he didn't deny anything Israel reported. I love Israelite's response to him. Very professional. Godfred in Sef also says Nam1 never learns. He took a jab at BOG, blah, 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 and it goes on. There's also a tweet from Ajoke. It says, Dear Israelite, please, some Ghanaians find your report weak. They need you to finish what you have started. And Israel has been speaking to the issue on the pulse with Gifty Ando Apia. We'll get to hear from him shortly what his explanations has been and why he actually went to the Men's Gold offices to file that report. We'll hear from the Israelite. He has to be on Joy Prime on Multi TV, so he's unable to join us in the studios. But he's been speaking, and we'll get to hear his response shortly. If we are unable to do that here, I'm sure the war on Twitter continues. Who do you stand with? Where do you stand? We'll get to know. But before we go, okay, it looks like we have Israelite's response.
And wanted
to,
who was a PRO for Men's Gold, and I wanted to find out from him if he could hook me up with any of the staff at the London office. I told him I was there, and he said he didn't know the people there because he had just assumed office, and he really didn't know the people there. But so he said he was going to try to see if he could hook me up. But he also indicated that he was supposed to have gone to the UK to get to familiarize himself with the operations.
That hasn't been done.
That hasn't been done. So I waited for a while. He didn't get back. Then I got back to him. I said, okay, now, can you tell me about the operations of Men's Gold in
London?
In London. And he indicated that, again, he didn't know much about it. Okay. So at that point, well, I just had to do what I had obtained.
It appears that the Men's Gold guys are not very happy about it. We've seen what they've been.
Well, about his what he had to say about me. It's okay. Nana Pia Mensah, I can imagine the way he's feeling, and so he'll going to say stuff like that. But that's okay. Now, the report that I put out, and everybody else can get to see, I didn't seek at any point in time to say that Men's Gold didn't have an office there.
So you heard the Joy News editor, Israel Lai. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of NewsNite. But just before we go, we've always heard that my pastor has always been told not to do politics. But what happens when politicians also start to preach? We have the latest preacher man in town, former President John Dramani Mahama has been speaking on favor. But we'll wrap up with that. And remember that we're taking your questions on Geek Squad, or your difficult tech questions. The Geek Squad have it. I have my question. I'll send it to him shortly. But let's hear from John Mahama. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Do stay for Geek Squad.
God can select you for favor. That is, if you seek his favor and if you do the things that please him. There are many others in the Bible I can give you. Isaac was blessed. Isaac was favored by God, so that even when there was famine and there was droughts and Isaac planted his seed, he harvested 100-fold. You remember the story of Jacob and Esau. God favored Jacob, and eventually Jacob got the blessings of his father. And Jacob prospered and became a very rich man, very wealthy. You remember the story of Joseph. God has a purpose for everything. You think that it was a calamity that had befallen